I'm so excited to be here today. I actually remember back to 2017, I had just started Enkel and I found the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. And so I was really honored when our partners at Payworks and Dave reached out earlier this year for this opportunity. I was actually on the Successful Bookkeeper podcast a number of years ago. So, in some senses, this is a part two of that. Several years later, hopefully wiser, but definitely older. So let's jump in. Today, we are going to cover the topic, something that is really near and dear to my heart, the Bookkeeper's Guide to Growth, Secrets for Success. This session is really all about you. So what I would invite you to do is drop your questions in the chat box. At the end, my friend Doug from Payworks is going to come in and read those questions out to me and I will answer them. You can actually also enter your email address next to your question. And if we don't get time to get to your question, we can then follow up with you later on. All right, let's dive in, everybody. So, a little bit about what you will learn. Niching for growth. There's a little bit of a Canada versus US pronunciation there. I'm going to go with the Canadian version of niching, but we'll talk about why specializing really helps you grow faster and really how to find clients in your niche. We'll talk about partnering with CPAs, building relationships that really help you expand your service offerings and your client base. We'll talk about optimizing internal workflows, automating tasks, managing clients more efficiently. This is something that I really wish I had more insight on when I started Enkel, so I'll share some of my stories there. We'll talk about hiring smarter. As you grow, you're going to need to think about who you add to your business, and I will give you some tips there. We'll then talk about the Enkel referral program and how you can potentially earn some revenue by working with us and partnering with us. At the end, like I said, we'll have a Q&A, and you can ask your questions in the Q&A box throughout. And like I said, we will go through those at the end. Now let's jump in. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about Enkel. So I started Enkel in 2016, really with a simple problem in mind. And that simple problem is that you can't build a great organization without good books. To a large extent, that thesis hasn't changed. We do more than just bookkeeping today, but really we are very focused on helping our clients get good quality financial reporting every single month. We have 300 clients across Canada. 100 of those clients are not-for-profit organizations. We focus on what we call financial operations support and financial management. Financial operations is bookkeeping, payroll. It's the things that businesses need throughout the year. Financial management is CFO support and controllership support. I'll talk a little bit more about our services as we go throughout today. Also, I would like to acknowledge that our offices are situated on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. A little bit about myself. Before I started Enkel, I worked at KPMG for about 8 years. I worked in what was called KPMG Enterprise, so really working with smaller clients. And that's really where I saw that the SMB market, the NPO market, is really underserved. And I continue to believe that that's the case. I really believe that we are in a great industry. I continue to wake up every day excited about what we do because there's just so much impact that we can have on our clients' organizations, their businesses, and ultimately their dreams. I always had a passion for entrepreneurship and started Enkel with a former client of mine. So here we are, 8, almost 9 years later. And it's become something that we love and we couldn't be happier to continue to keep building. Recently, I actually took on the role of head of growth at Enkel. Until this point, I'd been the CEO. We hired a CEO externally, and this is giving me the opportunity to really focus on our partnerships, working with accountants, people like you, other bookkeepers, and on the sales and marketing side. Now let's jump into our first section here today, niching down to grow up. The concept of niching is a little bit interesting because you are, in some senses, saying, I'm going to really focus on this one segment of the market, know it really well, but you may choose to actually ignore other clients that are outside of that niche. And so it does feel like a little bit of a bold step, but I can assure you that there is so much demand for what we do that if you pick the right niche, you can be very successful. This is really something that has become important to us at Enkel in terms of our overall strategy. It impacts really all aspects of the business today, from sales and marketing to service delivery, really in a profoundly positive way. Let's get into it now. So, why picking a niche is key for growth? So, first of all, the economics. You can look for that client that really makes the most sense for you. I would strongly encourage you to pick working with businesses that are steady businesses that will be around for the long term, and also having repeat business that is the same every single month or every single year is very valuable. You don't constantly have to reinvent the wheel. You can take one process, one workflow for one client and apply it to others. Also, differentiation. If you have ever tried to Google for bookkeeping services, it is a crowded space. So one way to really make yourself stand out is to differentiate yourself, to really speak the language of a certain sector, of a certain segment of the market, and that will really make you stand out as a subject matter expert. As an example, we at Enkel have one niche that we focus on as the not-for-profit sector. I do have a link in here. There's a firm out there called Unloop Accounting. They're a Canadian-based e-commerce bookkeeping business. And I've really watched the evolution of Unloop. I think they have really fantastic marketing for one. But what I love is that they only focus on e-commerce. And as I've watched their business grow, they've really taken on more and more services that are important for the e-commerce client. So for instance, they really focus on inventory and they're able to really speak intelligently about that. And so if you are looking for e-commerce bookkeeping and you come across Unloop, I think it would be hard to ignore them as a potential partner for your bookkeeping. So have a look at their site. It's great. And really think about how you might be able to niche within your practice. So let's talk about choosing your niche. And this is an interesting one. At Enkel, we really have two well-defined niches, I would say, not-for-profit organizations and wellness clinics. But we came across them in really different ways. Not-for-profit organizations, early on in starting Enkel, we had a couple people on the team who were really passionate about not-for-profits and had some connections in the not-for-profit community. And so we got some early clients there, built some workflows, really saw that what we did added value in that community. And so it just kind of grew from there. We built a partnership network around it. I wouldn't say that NPOs are really any different than a lot of other industries, but it's just one that happened to, in some ways, fall into our lap. Wellness clinics, we were a lot more intentional about. We actually went looking for another niche to focus on, and came across a partner that was interested in working with us, and it sort of grew from there. So again, it can come about in very different ways, but what I would strongly encourage you to do is really think about your own skills and your own client base already. Are there some bright spots in your book of business? Are there 5 clients that are super happy all the time? You know you're making money and they're all in one industry? Maybe that's an indication that that's something you are good at, you are good at delivering at, and where you might be able to build that niche. So really look internally, I would say, at your skill set and evaluate what you're good at, what your business is good at, and then make a decision from there. So where to find clients in your niche? So now that you have selected a niche and you've decided to go deep into this niche, really you want to increase your visibility. So attend industry-specific conferences, meetups, join member-based organizations where these people, where your potential clients are going to be. Focus on niche spaces. So aim to network with potential clients in the places where they are. The nice thing about this is it's not like going to a conference where you're going to meet a lot of bookkeepers. You're going to meet a lot of people that are in this industry and that potentially have your pain point. I would also encourage you to go prepared. So you can, as you get more confident, if you really start to invest in this, is to, buy space. So like have a booth at a trade show. But even if you just go as an attendee, have your business cards, be ready to connect with people there, have conversations, as many conversations as you can, get their contact information, maybe even go armed with like a one pager on your services and how you really solve the specific needs of businesses in that particular niche. Moving along, let's talk about partnering with CPAs to scale your practice. So this actually reminds me of when I was starting Enkel. Um, I put something very vague up on LinkedIn, and I really wish I had what it was. It was sort of like we do bookkeeping, but in sort of a non-committal way because I'm still figuring out what it was that we were going to do. But what I ended up doing, because ultimately I had a lot of time when I started the business, I had no clients. I was 100% dedicated to this. And so what I did was I decided, okay, let's just have 100 coffees in the first month of starting the business. That's really 3 a day if you go at it every day. It ended up being more like four, some days five. Um, but it was a really great investment. And I've met a lot of my CPA colleagues from my accounting days. And that really was the beginning of Enkel for us. When I think about it in hindsight, the earliest leads came from CPAs that I knew. And I continued to build those relationships. Many of those people that I met in that first month continue to send us business today. So building relationships with CPAs, you probably are already, if you have some client base, you probably are already working with some CPAs. Your clients have CPAs. Talk to those CPAs. Ask them, what is really important to them. See if there are opportunities to collaborate with them. I didn't say this at the beginning, but one of the reasons I started Enkel, and one of the reasons that I knew that there was so much demand for what we do was because I'd been on the other side of it. At KPMG, I always struggled to find really great bookkeepers for my clients. And when I found one, I gave them a lot of business. Also, some best practices for collaboration: have really clear communication with CPAs. CPAs get busy, things get lost, they tend to be quite last minute. Manage the year-end process for your clients. Proactively reach out to the CPAs that you're working with. Ask them how they want to see the year-end information presented, and even consider meeting with them before you send them the year-end materials so that you can make sure that anything that's in their head, any conversations they might have had with the client throughout the year, any of those details make their way into the books. Sometimes you might be surprised. CPAs are a trusted advisor of your clients. They have a lot of insight on your client's business through conversations that may have occurred throughout the year. And so it might be good to check in with them before you send them the year ends, because that can prevent a lot of back and forth, and the potential for somebody to indicate that you missed something in your deliverables to the CPA. CPAs and bookkeepers ultimately make a really strong team. They complement each other very well. CPAs focus on tax planning and advisory work, and you focus on the bookkeeping, which creates a really well-rounded client offering. Think about how you can make it so seamless for the client that it feels like they're working with one service provider. Now let's move ahead to optimizing your internal workflows. If I were to go back in time, some advice I would give myself would be to find 10 clients, make them absolutely perfect, templatize everything, have somebody else running them without my involvement, and then go and scale from there. Optimizing your internal workflows is so critical for your success. It will make your business far more efficient and effective, and it'll make it easier to run your business without you there all the time. Let's jump in. Automation tools. So I like to think of this in a few different categories. So there's bookkeeper specific tools. These are tools that you can use across niches. Dext is one that's really great for automating coding. It does a lot of the data entry for you. Then there's paperless tools. These are the tools that you use to get information from your clients. And by the way, I hope you are all paperless. It is better for you. It is better for your clients to be using something like Google Drive or Dropbox to be able to share documents. But what I would suggest again is pick your stack carefully. Only pick one tool or two tools at the most. Don't use whatever your client is using. Specify what you want them to use. And then niche specific tools. So often there are tools that integrate with QuickBooks, for instance, that serve a purpose in a vertical. So Clio is an example, Vancouver-based company, law firm management software. So lawyers can bill their clients out of Clio, for instance, and then there's an integration which pushes those invoices into QuickBooks in an automated way. So is there a way that you could use tools to really become an expert in a specific tool and specialize in a vertical? There's a new category, and this is the one that I'd say I'm the most excited about. There are new up and coming AI tools. I'm a little bit of um, I would say, tool enthusiast. So I follow a number of people on social media that test these tools. So Jason Stats is one of them. I also find him quite entertaining. He recently did a demo of Maker's Hub, which is effectively an expense AP automation tool. But it is super cool. And often what I end up doing is just downloading the demos, giving them a try, seeing if there might be an opportunity to integrate them with our stack. A few rules with tools. So know them cold. Really know them and really know their capabilities and their limitations. Use the best. Even if it costs a little bit more, you will find that that investment is worth it. Don't try to use a cheap tool because it's cheap. You will regret it. At the same time, stay on top of your tools costs. Many of these costs go through your credit card in an automated charge every month. So make sure that you're using all of the licenses that you're paying for. Many of these tools are seat-based, so you pay for the number of seats you have. Make sure that you're using all of those seats. One mistake I made when we started is I'd meet with vendors of different tools, and they would try to pre-sell us shell accounts at a discount. I see far less of this in the industry today, but my advice to you would be don't fall for that trap. Really make sure that you just buy the tools that you need when you need them. You will be far more successful going about it that way. It's really easy to forget that you've pre-bought these tools. Sometimes you make commitments because you're excited about what the growth potential for your business might be. You overcommit. So just be really conservative and diligent on these costs. Let's talk about client management tools. And I thought that this really warranted its own section just because it is so critical to your firm's success and your ability to scale. So you can use project management software, and I think that you definitely should. It will bring efficiency. It'll allow you to delegate tasks. It will make your client onboarding more efficient. And many of these tools have integrated client communication. And so you can easily communicate back and forth with clients on specific work-related matters, and all of the communication is housed in one place. There are off-the-shelf tools that are not specific to our industry. So there's Asana as an example. If you need something simple, just get up and running with Asana. We actually use it in certain parts of our business, like on the marketing side. But we also use Carbon. Carbon has been a really great tool for us. It has helped us really get all of our workflows and tasks and checklists in one place. We use it extensively to communicate with clients. And then there are ticketing systems. Ticketing systems really help you understand the nature of the communication that's coming in. They help you see escalations. When you get to a point where you start to scale, this might be important for you because you might really need to understand what is happening at the ground level, what your people are communicating with clients. One challenge we have today is that Carbon does not have a ticketing system. It does allow for free-flowing email communication, but I can't see everybody's emails. So I don't know today, Thursday, November 14th, if we have any unhappy clients, if we have 5 unhappy clients, and what those issues are. And so we're considering looking at a ticketing system to give us that. At the same time, you don't want to overcomplicate your workflows by having multiple tools at play. So it really does come down to workflow and what makes the most sense in the context of your business and how you operate. Let's keep going here. So time management techniques. So time management as the owner of a bookkeeping firm, no matter how big or small you are, it's a challenge. One thing that I found to be really helpful is time blocking. So time blocking is simply the activity of blocking time in your calendar for specific priorities. I also have taken to using really great colors that make it a lot more easy to see what things look like throughout the week. But if you block your time in advance, that way that time is dedicated for that particular activity. If you don't block time, your day will get eaten up by day-to-day issues. So really think about how you can start to make time for, let's say, investing in a niche, going to events or meetups that are relevant to a particular niche that you are pursuing. And really think about how to create tasks and operationalize it so that really these tasks require no involvement from you. Coming back to what I said earlier, is there a way to get, your first 10 clients in place and really make them run like a well-oiled machine without you, with really great workflows and processes, and have somebody else run with them so that you don't have to? That can really be a ticket to freedom for you. All right, let's talk about increasing revenue. So I always knew that in starting Enkel, I wanted to make Enkel a huge success with a lot of clients solving a lot of problems. And so this is an area that I've been focused on closely from the start. So a few really simple ways that you can increase revenue are to offer additional services. Offering additional services to your existing clients is probably the easiest way to grow. When we started Enkel, it very quickly became about bookkeeping, but we realized that there were other services that we could provide around bookkeeping that were very complementary. Payroll, as an example. Of course, we then partnered with Payworks, and we've built a really great workflow around Payworks that allows us to really deliver great service to our clients. You can also think about services like cash flow forecasting and advisory. Those are also a really great complement. Now that we've prepared your books, let's help you use those numbers. And also make yourself visible in the community. If you live in a small community, become active in that community. Attend networking events, conferences. Also, Facebook and LinkedIn groups can be a really great resource for you. All right, build a referral network. So partnering with financial advisors, CPAs, and other professionals can be a really great way to grow. How you can get more referrals. So encourage client referrals. When somebody compliments you on a job well done, don't lose that opportunity. Ask them for a referral. Build relationships that are complementary with other professionals, and share clients. You may come across situations where your clients have a pain. Maybe they're unhappy with their bank or unable to get financing from their existing bank. Can you introduce them to another bank that you maybe have met through networking? Ask your app partners for leads. If you go into niches, this can be particularly fruitful. A lot of niche apps will have an advisory network. So right on their website, you can become listed on their website, and that can be a place for somebody to go and look for a potential service provider that knows an app. I'm looking at a new website system currently, and actually just this weekend, I was thinking, who's going to implement it? And I did just that. I went to their page where they list service providers that work with their product, and I've reached out to a few. All right. Let's talk about getting your team structure in place for growth. So now that you're growing, how do you grow? We made a lot of mistakes here, but we also made some good moves along the way. And so let me share some insights as we go through this section. So, when to hire? First of all, I want you to keep something in mind. Hiring helps, but it doesn't fix all of your problems. Yes, it may alleviate bandwidth issues if you have those issues. But if you don't have good systems and processes, a good training platform in place, and really clear expectations for team members coming in, hiring can become a big problem. Now, you may run into a situation as you grow where you're over capacity. The problem with being over capacity is that you may end up creating a situation where people are unproductive and just easily take the time that's given to them. You want to maintain a healthy balance without going to a place where you're under capacity or over capacity. Conduct an internal audit before you hire. What's not going well? Can you solve problems by looking at unprofitable clients, perhaps? Maybe you can talk to another accountant who would be, or another bookkeeper who would be able to better serve a particular client. Don't always think, and I find when I talk to bookkeepers, they often think that the solution is hiring. Often the solution lies in something simpler than that. Now let's talk about some key roles here. But actually, before I get into this, I just want to share some insight. So I've built a lot of relationships with other firms that do similar work to us. We refer clients back and forth if it's something that's better suited for the other person. Recently, I got on the line with one of these people that I've gotten to know really well. She was thinking about adding a manager level person to her very successful bookkeeping firm. What I helped her realize is the magic in her firm is the ability for her to take administrative staff, people that really have no bookkeeping knowledge, really train them super well, make them successful and very efficient. And what I cautioned her on is that maybe she was getting into the trap of believing that hiring a manager was what she needed to do rather than really what she should do. What I encouraged her to think about is maybe staying at her current size and just really focusing on productivity, maybe bringing a few other people in as she'd done in the past was a greater ticket, a better ticket to success. She has now actually doubled down on that strategy. And I saw her recently, and she said it was so freeing to realize that that just wasn't her. So really know your strengths and know your weaknesses. That's something I'd strongly encourage you to do. Are you good at managing people? Or are you really a good administrator and are you good at making people successful, but on a small team basis? Think about where you can be the most successful and then build your team accordingly. So there's a few different roles you can consider. So there's admin assistants for handling communication and routine tasks. One thing that we found is that bookkeepers are really good at getting the bookkeeping done, but communication is not necessarily what they do best. And so we've actually broken that down. We have people that are responsible for communication and those that are responsible for routine tasks. There are junior bookkeepers. My first hire was a junior bookkeeper. That's probably a logical place to go if you have capacity issues. Senior bookkeepers can also be great. They can either run independently and manage more complex issues, or they can start to manage small teams. But just keep in mind that because somebody is a good bookkeeper themselves doesn't necessarily mean they'll be good at managing people. So really focus on their management capabilities. Marketing and client relations, as you grow, you may want to consider hiring somebody on the marketing side who can really help you drive the business forward. And then the final bullet point here is around global delivery. So at Enkel, we have a team of about 50 people. In India, we have a wholly owned subsidiary there. Global delivery can be a really great way to get you scale and to get it fast. That's why we thought it was important to our business. But it, of course, has its own challenges. You are across the world from people. There are cultural elements that make it more complicated. Communication is more challenging. So If you're thinking about global delivery, you might want to think about a third party. There's like TOA Global as an example that does this and can really help you get started at a small scale. We're getting to the end here. Let's talk about how we might be able to partner. So I am firmly of the view that every business, every organization needs what we offer. That's the really exciting thing about our business. That's what, like I said, gets me out of bed in the morning. But that doesn't mean that every client is for you. And so, what I would suggest is really think about those clients that make sense for you. Where are you in your journey? And can we partner? If you have excess clients, if you have clients that are coming to you that you can't serve, we might be able to help you with that. We have a, a program for bookkeepers and other referral partners. So if you send us a client, you can earn 10% of recurring revenue that we charge that client for 2 years. So it's a great way for you to earn a little bit of additional revenue, but also to really have potential clients that you can't serve find a place. So please reach out to me if you'd like to speak about this. And also, one place where we have started partnering with a number of bookkeepers is around CFO and controllership services. You can continue to manage the books, and we can take the CFO and controllership services if your clients need more than just ongoing bookkeeping. So this is a really great way we can work together, again, going for that one service provider feel for the client, work together behind the scenes to make the information go back and forth really smoothly and work together for the client's success. So, like I said, if you'd like to chat, please book me for a consultation. And really, you can start earning some additional revenue by sending us your overflow clients. So I look forward to hearing from you, to speaking with you. I'll share some information at the end on how you can get in touch with us and how we might be able to get started. So before we jump into the Q&A for today, just a few final reminders. Niche down to grow faster. I can't say this enough. There's a reason we started with this. Focus on something and really become an expert at it. Build partnerships with CPAs to offer more value. Scale smartly through automation, new services, and strategic hiring. Be very intentional about how you grow the systems, the processes, and the people. And again, partner with Enkel to monetize overflow clients and really remain focused on the clients that you serve. Let's jump into the Q&A session. So Doug, my good friend from Payworks, is jumping in here. He has been watching the questions as they've been coming through, and I do see that we have a few here. And he will read them out to me for this session. Let's go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, the chat was going off about Alignable. I don't know if you've heard of that before. Seems to be a cool network, though.
I have. I don't know too much about it, but definitely something to check out.
Anyway, and then Kimberly, who is also seems to have Kimberly knows a lot about it. So she'd asked if she could get the slide deck at the end, and maybe you can connect with her on Alignable to get her the slide deck. I'm not sure. But if
Yeah,
you shared your
absolutely.
email, no, sorry, Omar.
Absolutely. If you connect with us, send me a note. I'd be happy to send you the deck.
And there weren't any questions like that came into the chat, but I have some, Omar, and one's a really simple one. Someone just asked one here actually. How do you feel about Keeper over Carbon? And the one thing I know about Keeper is if you go on their website, Jason Stats, who you'd mentioned in your presentation,
Yeah.
Omar, has an awesome video about Keeper that we love anyway. But anyway, how
Oh,
do you feel about
excellent.
Keeper over Carbon? And that comes from Don Thompson.
Okay, so I actually was not really involved in evaluating Keeper. I have heard great things about it, but I can tell you about Carbon. So Carbon is really great for internal workflow management. We struggle to get good visibility out of it, I would say. Like I was talking about the ticketing system. So I don't have a handle on what's happening from a communication standpoint in the business. So we have manual processes in place. And we're at a size today where that's not really working well. I do think that Carbon is a fantastic platform for firms under 50 people. Realistically, it covers so many use cases. It's definitely built for our industry, which is really great to see. And the people at Carbon are phenomenal, by the way. Um,
Another one. Oh, there's a couple. Oh, they're coming in. So Don had a comment. Carbon is great for workflows, but Keeper integrates file reviews, documents, and communication.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Uh,
Carbon does a little bit of, I mean, you can connect Google Drive and have
yeah,
clients drop files in there. But I do understand. I believe that Keeper does a pretty great job here.
yeah, we see them at conferences all the time too. And
Yeah.
we got one here from Annette Weigel. I hope I got that correct. Are you familiar with pure bookkeeping, Omar?
I am somewhat familiar with pure bookkeeping. Probably, I can't really share much information on it. I don't know it that well. I have met people over the years from pure bookkeeping at various conferences and have heard a lot of great things about it.
Yes, likewise. And I believe it started in Australia, and
Yes.
it seems to be a very popular system. And it's like everyone I've talked to is just like all about it.
Yeah.
Can from Pamela Saul, pardon. Can you please explain what a ticketing means?
Oh, ticketing system is like when you talk to, I'm probably going to do a really bad job of this. When you talk to like a support desk, for instance, like Rogers or TELUS, you are maybe going through their chat bot or you're emailing in. A ticket is being created, and that goes to an agent who has to resolve that ticket. And the thing with a ticketing system is it gives dashboards and views. So it'll give the agent a view of all of the tickets that they have open. It'll measure time to close those tickets, so to close a service
Oh,
request. And it will give the management team a layer, like a view of what's going on in the support desk.
well said. Yeah. I think might have been for you, Omar, and Kimberly. Correct me in the chat if not, but were you inviting Omar to speak to your alignable group where you have about an audience of about 35,000 people? Or was that, if so, I think you could connect. A good thing to do is to connect direct with Omar. His email's
Yeah.
up
Send me an
there.
email there.
If
Yeah.
that was for him, and then I'm sure he'd be interested in that. You might get a little nerve sighted for that many people, but for you.
35,000.
Um,
We were talking before the webinar started about Taylor Swift and how to become as famous as Taylor Swift. Maybe this is the ticket.
Yeah. I had a easy one for you, Omar. It's just,
Okay.
I've asked you this before, but where did you find, like, what came up, what helped you come up with the name Enkel?
Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't tell this story at the
Like,
beginning. So I'm a person who likes to, for right or wrong reasons, do many crazy things at the same time. So we bought a house. I was starting Enkel and we were having a baby all at the same time. And so the lawyer was pressuring me for a name, and I just couldn't think of a name. And so we were at IKEA. And I thought, okay, Swedish name might be cool, the way they name all of their furniture. Um, and what I was trying to say is how do we simplify the lives? How do we simplify back office, simplify accounting? The word simple really stuck out to me. And so I Googled from my phone, how do you say simple in Swedish? And Enkel came up. It turns out Enkel means a lot of things in a lot of different languages. I think it means grandfather in German, perhaps. But I liked that it was a five-letter word. I liked that it meant simple in one language, and it looked really cool in logo options that I saw. And so we just went for it. And I told myself that we may actually not keep the name forever, but over time, Ankel's identity has really become closely tied to the name. And so I love it now.
awesome. And I've got more questions have flew in here too, Omar. So I'll start with an anonymous attendee. My niche is counselors, therapists, and coaches, but has been slow going. They are very price sensitive.
Yes.
I'm thinking of broadening my niche to health and wellness. What would
Mhm.
be your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, you can broaden, definitely. I would say look for a common tool, perhaps, where you might be able to become an expert. At the same time, don't be turned off by a price-sensitive community. 80% of the people that you meet might not um, see value in what you do, but 20% might. And so what I would say is keep at it, keep your message very targeted, potentially think about broadening. That's not a bad idea. And get a few clients where you can really build some great case studies. Because one thing that's really important in this work is people often have bad examples that they can point to. Either they've had a bad experience with a bookkeeper or they know of somebody that has. And so if you can really create that sense that you are the expert, you've done this before, you have credibility from somebody who has experienced the pain directly, there's a lot of opportunity for success there.
Well said. Also with, the power of referrals on that 20% that aren't price sensitive, they're investing in your services and there's value there. So as that gets demonstrated, the
Absolutely.
referrals come with that. Um, we had some from Kimberly. No, I'm going to say it's no, given your business name, but I could be wrong. Does Keeper and Carbon challenge Zenit? And Zenit is spelled Xenett.
Sorry, I don't know Zenit, unfortunately.
Yeah. And is there a recording of they are is it, sorry, this one's from Walid. Is there a recording for this webinar? I know we are recording it and believe it'll be available on demand through Successful Bookkeeper. And
Correct.
so that's a yes. And another one is how much cash or money should we expect to spend on additional apps? And I'm not sure what additional would mean, but maybe overall, how much do you expect to spend on apps?
Yeah, this is a tricky one, but the mindset that I have around apps is that if it's going to be less expensive to use an app, it's going to drive better quality, perhaps a better experience for the client, and it's going to, I mean, ultimately be less expensive than somebody doing the work themselves, then it's totally worth it. The key is in using apps to their fullest. And that's something that I see bookkeepers falling short on a lot is you use the app to about 60-70% of its capabilities and you get frustrated and the other 30% you deal with workarounds. To the extent that you can, like I said, know it cold, really leverage the app to the fullest, that's where you get the most value.
Awesome. Thank you. So I had another question for you, Omar. It's not in the chat, but in having discussions with you and then as part of my role as partner manager here, something we see as a trend, but does operating in those niche help increase referrals, as we kind of talked about? And does it lower your acquisition cost for new clients?
Yeah, it definitely does because as you get more well known in a niche, word of mouth becomes very powerful. And of course, you have to you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You end
Mm.
up delivering the same message over and over again. So if I have to go to five, here's a simple example. If I have to go to five conferences for one industry, I only have to prepare once, right? As opposed to if I go to five conferences, five different industries, maybe I need new banners, maybe I need, different one
Mm.
pagers, all of that. So it just makes you so much more efficient and focused.
Awesome. And as
Great.
your goal, that's it. And I had one other thing just kind of for the audience, but like a way we look with this whole niche thing is when we're looking at partnerships or things like that at Payworks, just with what we do, is we're always looking to like what questions are we getting asked all the time that we don't provide that solution for. So payroll, employee benefits comes up a lot.
Yeah,
So, we tend to refer to employee benefit sales advisors where
right.
we'll if we're referring to them, then we'll just ask to reciprocate. And Omar, you tied into that in your presentation, but I think not being afraid to ask for referrals. So if you're using a platform for something all the time and you're sending lots of business somewhere, maybe they could reciprocate that too. And I don't know if you have thoughts on that, Omar, but sometimes there's low hanging fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. To your point, low-hanging fruit, right? who's looking for what other pain points can you solve for your clients, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing bookkeeping, like AP is
Mm.
it's a very obvious extension, right? And then
Yeah.
pick a great tool with a really great workflow, like Pluto as an example. Payroll for us was so obvious when we started bookkeeping. Almost every conversation I had was, do you also do payroll? And so just really listen, I'd say, to Doug's point.
Awesome. That was all the questions I had, and I think we've
All right.
answered everything in the chat. So thank you,
Excellent.
Omar, and thank you to everyone that's attended and stuck around for everything. This was really, really informative.
Excellent. Thank you for all of the questions. And again, I'll just pause here on this slide for a couple more seconds. Please feel free to reach out if you would like to speak about how we might be able to partner. You can go to www.enkel.ca/partners, fill out a form there, and we'll be in touch. You can email me directly as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.